Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily News. I'm Nicholas Richardson. Data shows a dramatic increase in crime in Germany. It has not been this bad since 2012. The authorities cite sex crimes and knife attacks as the main problems. Similar attacks are happening everywhere, including Poland, as evidenced by an attack on a woman in the centre of Warsaw this weekend. Such incidents do remain rare in Poland, at least for now.
The incident in Warsaw took place on Saturday morning. A half-naked foreigner attacked a young woman in the center of the capital. She received no help from passers-by or the police. In the video, I couldn't stand it anymore and started screaming for him to leave me alone. But he still didn't let go of me until he finally picked me up on the pedestrian crossing. He then dropped me and started dragging me by my legs. She was eventually helped by security guards. While similar attacks are still marginal in Poland, the problem in Western Europe has been huge for years and continues to spiral. The latest figures show that, in Germany, the number of crimes has risen from 700,000 to almost 800,000 in 1 year. The number of sexual crimes, bag and luggage thefts, and violent crimes has increased significantly. Knife attacks are also on the rise in Germany, especially at train stations. One idea to combat this type of crime is to ban knives in public places.
They're looking for illegal immigrants.
That is very difficult, even impossible, because you would have to have an army of policemen who would have to check almost everyone, because anyone could have a knife. Crime in Germany is on the rise as migration to the country increases. Meanwhile, the media there is reporting another refugee status scandal. RTL TV has highlighted the popularity in Germany of travel agencies offering holidays to Afghanistan with a stopover in Iran. It turns out that thousands of people from Afghanistan with refugee status are legally vacationing in their home country and returning peacefully to Germany. Germany must remain open to the world, but not stupid. The authorities must ensure that people who have asked for protection but are vacationing in their own country immediately lose their refugee status and are no longer allowed to stay in Germany. The migration problem is also growing rapidly in Spain, which this year became the second country in the European Union with the highest number of migrants, after Greece. Arrivals of illegal African migrants in Spain reached a record high in the first half of August, with an increase of 126% in the Canary Islands and 143% in the enclave of Ceuta compared to previous months. Spain is a destination for migrants mainly from West African countries. Maximilian Maszenda, TV Republika.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting Poland for top-level security and trade talks before heading to neighbouring Ukraine, which is at war with India's strategic partner, Russia. Modi will hold talks on Thursday in Warsaw with Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk and President Andrzej Duda, which are expected to focus on security, especially in the region bordering Ukraine. Ukraine chastised Modi for his visit to Moscow last month, when he met and hugged President Vladimir Putin. Modi has avoided condemning Russia while emphasizing a peaceful settlement to the war in Ukraine. Poland's Deputy Prime Minister, Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz, who is also the Defense Minister, has said he counts on intensifying cooperation with India in various areas, including new technologies. In a statement ahead of his arrival in the NATO and European Union member nations, Modi said Poland remains India's key economic partner in Central Europe. The Indian leader's visit also marks 70 years of official bilateral relations between New Delhi and Warsaw, and comes 45 years after the previous visit by an Indian government leader, Morarji Desai. According to the figures cited by the Embassy of India, from 2013 to 2023, the total bilateral trade value increased from 1.95 billion zloty to 5.72 billion zloty, with India's exports accounting for the majority of it. On Wednesday, Modi will lay wreaths at two monuments in Warsaw, marking joint chapters of World War II. One of the monuments honours the Gud Maharaja Yam Sahib of Navanagar, who offered protection and care to some 1,000 Polish children evacuated from the Soviet Union to India from 1942 to 1946. The other commemorates the joint effort in the 1944 Battle of Monte Cassino in Italy. On Friday, Modi will travel to Kiev to meet President Volodymyr Zelensky. The trip to Ukraine comes a month after Zelensky criticized Modi's two-day visit to Moscow in July, when he met Putin on the day Russian missiles struck across Ukraine, killing scores of people. Zelensky had described the meeting as a huge disappointment and a devastating blow to peace efforts. He also chided Modi for hugging Putin during their meeting. India has avoided condemning Russia's invasion and instead has urged Russia and Ukraine to resolve the conflict through dialogue and diplomacy. Catholics do not agree with the abolition of religious education in Polish schools. Protests against the actions of the Ministry of Education were held on the streets of Warsaw today. Among other things, they want to limit the number of lessons, merge classes, and exclude religion from counting towards pupils' average grade. Castle Square in Warsaw, crowds of demonstrators are expressing their opposition to plans by the Ministry of Education to restrict religious education in schools. The demonstrators point out that this is another manifestation of Donald Tusk's government's hostility towards Roman Catholics. With this protest, we want to show that the regulations introduced by Minister Barbara Nowacka discriminate against students and religious teachers. It is necessary to act. Catholics can't be indifferent, and we have to show that we don't like it so that they know our opinion. This includes reducing the number of religious education lessons, moving them to the beginning or end of the school day, and putting pupils from different grades together in one lesson. Some pupils may be at different levels, some at lower levels, but this is discrimination. This should not be the case. There must be separate classes with religion. This generation we are raising without religion will be a generation without tradition, without the Christian culture on which Poland and Europe were built. Some politicians in the ruling coalition have a different view. They would like to replace religion in schools with religious studies. This is the opinion of Marcin Józefachuk, a long-serving school principal and, in his own words, a neo-pagan. I have some doubts about whether this should happen at school. On the other hand, when it comes to religious studies, absolutely. Religious studies that show the ethical values of the whole of Europe, including Poland, because I'd like to point out that Poland hasn't always been Christian. In reality, the moment of Poland's baptism in 996 AD is generally regarded as the symbolic beginning of the Polish state. When Barbara Nowacka took over the Ministry of Education, she announced the de-ideologization of Polish schooling. The problem is that Catholic values are being replaced by other values. This school is being ideologized because it is moving towards a kind of neo-communism. These platitudes uttered by the minister have nothing to do with the truth. The school is being ideologized faster than they said before the elections. The decisions taken by the Ministry of National Education are not clearly accepted even by the coalition partners. From the 1st of September, compulsory education will be extended to Ukrainian children living in Poland. PSL politicians warn that the curriculum for Ukrainian citizens could include content glorifying the leaders of the criminal Ukrainian nationalists responsible, among other things, for the genocide of Poles in Volhynia. Deputy Minister Joanna Mucha sees no problem with it. I have the impression that everyone has the impression that all Ukrainian education is about is the Volhynia genocide. PSL politician Piotr Zgorzelski reacted strongly to these words. In my opinion, this statement betrays a high degree of naivety, because it is important to know that the Ukrainian identity is based on the ideals of Bandera. The dismantling of religion in schools and the questionable content to be taught to Ukrainian children in Poland are not the only controversial measures being taken by the Ministry of Education. Earlier, the Ministry of Education decided to reduce significantly homework and shorten the list of compulsory reading, which provoked the opposition of a large part of the teaching community and parents. Maciej Strug, TV Republika. The presidential campaign in the United States is entering a decisive phase. As Donald Tusk announced, Kamala Harris withdrew from the Fox News debate, which, according to the former president, should not come as a surprise. Everyone is waiting for specifics from the Democratic candidate. The third day of the convention, and so far there has been a big show, a lot of talk, praise, and little of what Harris actually wants to do in the White House. Poland is closely following events overseas as they also affect Poland and fundamental issues concerning Poland's security.
Another day of speeches by Kamala Harris supporters at the Democratic Convention. This time, former President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle. It's hard not to get the impression that this support is basically creating an image of the vice president that Americans simply don't know. She has no leadership vision, no idea how to lead the U.S. in today's difficult world situation. She would simply like to become president of the U.S. In fact, she would probably never think about it directly. There is a reason why the key point of all Democratic speeches is Donald Trump. Until recently, Trump's lead over then-candidate Joe Biden was crushing. On the wave of Kamala Harris's popularity, it began to fall. But Americans finally want specifics, and so far, only Trump is presenting them.
It's just insane. But you can't walk across the street to get a loaf of bread. You get shot, you get mugged, you get raped, you get whatever it may be. And you've seen it, and I've seen it, and it's time for a change.
TV Republica has been following the campaign in the United States very closely. We were at the Republican convention, and we were also at the Eagle Forum in New Jersey. This is where the conservative base of the Republicans are presenting their ideas for the campaign and discussing key policy issues, not just American politics. Guests from abroad are also invited, including from Poland. The exchange of experience is extremely important. They already have a plan on how to deal with breaking the law and bullying their opponents. We should watch them, support them, help them, and prepare ourselves for very strong actions, for activity in Poland to defend our rights and what we believe in. As experts point out, such transatlantic conservative bridges matter, regardless of who ends up in the White House. They are extremely important because, in fact, the political dispute today is not political. We are not arguing with the left about who wants higher taxes, about that too, but we are arguing first and foremost about fundamental civilizational issues. Donald Trump is paradoxically a predictable candidate for Poland. He is the one who has made the most important decisions from Warsaw's perspective on increasing the number of American troops in Poland, supporting the trilateral project, or subscribing to Poland's energy policy and liquefied gas supplies. Kamala Harris, at best, could be an extension of Joe Biden's policies, predictable at least in terms of security, on issues of the economy, economics, finance, or worldview, a complete unknown for now. Kamil Trzaska, TV Republika.
That's the news. Thank you for watching, and from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.